about the home we shared. The lonesome halls and empty walls are all that's there. So for now, your memory will have to do. Each day and night I walk the floor and think of you. Walk the floor and think about the home we shared. The lonesome halls and empty walls are all that's there. So for now, your memory will have to do. Each day and night I walk the floor and think of you. Every day I walk the floor and think of you. And every night I pray the Lord will see me through. Every time I think I find a love that's true, I fall right back to walk the floor and think of you. Once there was a time when I had everything, and once around my finger was a wedding ring. But like a fool I threw away the love we knew, and now alone I walk the floor and think of you. Walk the floor and think about the home we shared. The lonesome halls and empty walls are all that's there. So for now, your memory will have to do. Each day and night I walk the floor and think of you.
Good morning. What's going on, everybody? Welcome on in. Tuesday morning, 11 a.m. A little later than normal, but that's for a reason, because we're awaiting the sentencing update out of New York on the Trump BS nonsense trial up here. So we're waiting on Judge Merchan. So hopefully we get that while we're live. What's going on, everybody? Hello, Hasu. Moon Pie, good morning. Good morning. David, morning from Winter Haven, Florida. How's everybody doing this morning? Good morning, Queen Victoria. Good morning. Pigpen, hello. Huey, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome on in. We'll wait for some more people to get here. Let me know in the chat if you've got notified when we go live. Do you get notified when the stream gets posted even before we go live? I think this stream got posted around 10:30 where you were able to see that we were going to go live at 11. Who gets notified? Who doesn't? Is it just that you have to log on and find it on YouTube or Facebook? I know they'll pre-post it that we're going to go live. I don't think X does that. I don't know about Rumble, and I don't think Getter does either. So do you only get notified once we're actually live, or do you get notified once the show gets actually posted? Let me know. I get notified just as it goes live, Jeanette said. Okay. I got a notification at 10:53. Right, so that's when we actually went live. The stream went live. So you don't get a notification when we actually post it at like 10:30. No notifications, have to look for it on Facebook. All right, so maybe we have to post it much earlier than just a half hour before so people can have time to find it. Only when the show goes live. No, exactly, Big D. We have to look around. That's too bad. They should figure out a way to send something to at least subscribers who are following the channel to say we plan on going live and then with the time, so you know, instead of having to get it just when we go live. But okay, we'll have to figure that out. Maybe we have to post it like an hour before so that everybody has time to find it and know what time we're going to go live, because some of these mornings we're going a little later because things are happening. I'm trying to catch things while we're live. Like this morning, we're waiting to hear from this judge. And we'll see if we get that. Republicans are actually speaking right now. What's going on, everybody? Our friends on Getter. I see a lot of you over there this morning as well. I have the Getter chat up now. Ruby, Mama E, good morning. Good morning, everybody over on Getter. Welcome on in. Caspi says, I get Rumble and Facebook notifications, but not the tube. Okay. All right. We'll have to work that out. Oh, God. All morning I get to see Andy McCarthy and now Trey Gowdy talking about, well, at least they're not talking about recess appointments and how they feel about that. I posted Andy McCarthy's piece this morning. I mean, I post these things because I think it's worthwhile to read other people's opinions on these things, even if I don't agree with one word of it. But they all know more about it than I do. But Andy McCarthy has a piece this morning about recess appointments. And as much as I understand all these guys who want to think about precedent and beat their chest about, well, this is a bad precedent and this leaves the door open for another, leaves the door open for a future president, AOC, like whoever said it yesterday. Eric Erickson, I think yesterday said, this leaves the door open for a president AOC somewhere down the line, or leaves the door open for this, and this is bad, and this is not what was intended. But none of the people, quote unquote, I don't even want to say on our side, but whatever you classify National Review these days as, and I like Andy McCarthy. I think he's a smart guy. Come on, he's a former federal prosecutor. He's no dummy. What they never factor into their reasoning on why everything Trump does is terrible is that, again, if the tables were flipped, none of these people would ever take any of this into consideration on, oh, it's a bad precedent, it's this, it's that. They just hammer through, burn the place down. And not that I'm encouraging burning the place down for Trump to do, but at some point you gotta say, even if we're pushing the boundaries a little bit. You know, this hands-off stance that we always take on these things is crazy to me, because they never would do this on the other if the tables were turned. Never. And by the way, they never have anybody in their media writing articles like this, like we do on our side. The left doesn't have a national review. They don't have organizations that write, oh, I hope newly elected President Harris doesn't get rid of the filibuster or doesn't bypass the... They never get that. They're like a bull in the china shop, burn the place down, whatever you have to do, forever power. They don't have people who fall out of line, ever. So that's the aggravating part about it. Elizabeth Warren last night goes on MSNBC. Now, did she go on MSNBC to talk about what problems they're trying to solve for the American people in the last 2 months of the Biden and Harris administration? No. Nope. Did she go on there to talk about how they're still fighting or how they're going to deal with skyrocketing inflation that's affecting everybody still? Nope. Did she go on there to talk about the border that's still in absolute chaos? Nope. Did she go on there to talk about the crime waves that are decimating the cities, like what we saw in New York City yesterday? 3 dead, a couple injured, some lunatic with a knife running around the city? No, she didn't go. She didn't go on there. She went on MSNBC to talk about the fact that her goal and her party's goal from now through January 20th and really for the foreseeable future is to start digging up dirt on all of Trump's nominees and start leaking it and releasing it to the public in any way they can, and to start doing it immediately, effectively, is what she said. Again, not to address problems, not to address anything, just focus on smearing Republican nominees, digging up whatever they can, leaking it to their friends in the media, putting it out to the American people. That's their interest. They have no interest in solving problems. They have no interest in making your life better. They only have an interest in now protecting, and this goes broadly for what we're going to see over the next 60 days and even past that, obviously. The only interest of all of these people is protecting their administrative state that they hold so close to their heart, that is responsible for making them all rich, making them all their connections, all their corporate elitists who donate to them, all their corporate elitists who trade insider trading with them, who bankroll their power, their never-ending search for power. That is their only goal right now, is protecting the administrative state and everything that comes with it. That's why they have no interest in you. They have no interest in your problems. They have one focused goal, and it's not justice. It's not progress. It is about keeping as much control as they possibly can, protecting as much of the administrative state as they possibly can. And of course, their overriding position is still trying to silence all and any opposition, because they are looking at an incoming administration that is taking direct aim at their corrupt system. And they have to protect that system. And they need to continue to make sure that that system can serve them and serve the ruling class and serve the administrative state and keep them in power, not serve you, the people. You are a long shot afterthought. And of course, their goal right now, as you can see around the world, Biden and Harris, is to create as much chaos as possible around the world, domestically here in the States, economically, obviously abroad with what's going on with this big change in policy in Ukraine now lobbing missiles deeper into Russia. So it'll create as much chaos as possible across the world, create as much chaos here economically as they can. Just turmoil. They need turmoil right now, and that's what they're actively trying to get to. Turmoil. I'm watching Fox right now. They have this Governor Shapiro on. We talked about this last night. Shapiro backs court ruling against counting ballots. Well, yeah, he does now. Yeah, sure, but where has he been? I mean, it's unbelievable. These people have no scruples at all. Like if that were any one of us, and they came to us and they said, okay, well, the court ruled now again, you could put out a statement now. You'd think, well, geez, it's kind of embarrassing now, right? Probably should have put this out immediately. You'd almost be embarrassed to do it. You'd be like, this is kind of embarrassing to do. I really don't want to. They're just right in your face. They just don't care. He puts out this big statement like, oh, look at me. I'm a strong leader. Where the hell you been, bud? While they've been trying to steal this thing. Where you been? You waited till you knew it was a total dead end, and then you stood up for what you should have stood up for weeks ago. And it's right in your face. They don't care. They don't care. And when history looks back on it, he'll say, oh, look at my statement I put out. He won't reference the timing whatsoever. Won't reference the state Supreme Court. He'll just reference that he says, look, I said this was irresponsible back then to ignore election law. Oh, really? Let's see here. Mike Johnson and the House Republicans are hosting a press conference. Let's listen into a little bit of this.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. We're looking forward to being back here for another productive week before we break for Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone on the front end. House Republicans are continuing our preparations for the 119th Congress so we can hit the ground running and leverage our unified Republican leadership in the White House, House, and Senate to deliver for the American people in meaningful ways. We're also staying busy during this lame duck period, advancing important legislation, including two critical bills that I'll briefly highlight here. My friend and colleague on the Ways and Means Committee, Claudia Tenney from New York, she is pushing the Stop the Terror Financing and Tax Penalty on American Hostages Act, and we'll put that on the floor this week. This is a common sense piece of legislation that will prevent the IRS from charging late fees and penalties on American citizens who are wrongfully detained or held hostage abroad. Again, a common sense piece of legislation. This bill also revokes the tax-exempt status of American nonprofits that provide financial or material support to terrorist groups like Hamas. This bill addresses critical gaps in our tax laws to hold organizations and support terrorism accountable and provide relief for hostages who are just trying to get home and reunite with their families. Second bill we're also bringing to the floor, Congressman Russ Fulcher's Committing Leases for Energy Access Now Act, the CLEAN Act, which will require the Department of Interior to increase the frequency of geothermal lease sales from every 2 years to every year, hold replacement sales if necessary, and create decision deadlines for permit applications for better transparency and communication. We know that diverse and reliable energy sources are critical to our national security and American energy dominance, and geothermal energy.
I can't turn it up. That's the sound they're giving. It's at full.
The resources that we have here in the United States. Again, two common sense pieces of legislation that I'm sure you all are chomping at the bit to talk about extensively today in this press conference. Looking forward to supporting both these measures, and I will now turn the time over to our whip, Mr. Tom Emmer.
Thank you, Blake. 18 minutes. This is how long Laken Riley fought for her life until she was ultimately murdered because of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Democrats' open border agenda.
It is unbelievable they can never get this audio right. It's just shocking.
Exposed.
But there's government for you.
We learned that Democrats' failed policies resulted in Laken's alleged killer receiving a taxpayer-funded flight from New York City to Georgia. This is a slap in the face to the entire Riley family. a slap in the face to every law-abiding, tax-paying American citizen. And it confirms what we've known all along. Laken Riley's murder was entirely preventable, and the Biden-Harris administration is responsible. Unfortunately, her story is not an isolated one. There's 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungaard. There's 37-year-old Rachel Morin, and these are just the cases we know about. All of these young women were brutally murdered because the White House prioritized illegal immigrants over their safety. Thankfully, on November 5th, voters said enough is enough. They elected a Republican president, a Republican House, and a Republican Senate with a mandate to get this crisis under control and end the Democrats' open borders insanity once and for all. And that's exactly what we're going to do. With President Trump leading the way, our Republican trifecta is ready to hit the ground running on day one to secure our borders and ensure criminal illegal aliens are removed from our communities. January 20th cannot come fast enough. And now our Majority Leader, Steve Scalise.
Thank you, Whip. Blake laid out the bills that we're bringing to the floor again this week. Yesterday, we passed a really important bill for our nation's veterans by Juan Ciscomani, named after Elizabeth Dole. It was good to get that bill passed overwhelmingly out of the House, now over to the Senate. Going to talk a little bit about the planning that we're doing for January. You know, we just got an overwhelming mandate from the voters of this country to, number one, reject the far left policies that we've seen from the Biden-Harris administration the last 4 years, but especially to put the country on a different path. And we laid out during the campaign what that path would be, but we're now planning for the policies that we would put in place as a Republican majority with a Republican Senate and the White House and under President Trump to get our country back on track, to focus on lowering costs for family at the grocery store, at the gas pump, their energy bills, to secure America's border. So once again, I assembled all the committee chairs last week to go through what we will be doing in budget reconciliation starting in January. This is going to be a busy process next year. We laid out a very aggressive first 100-day agenda, addressing the things that would get our country moving again, that would focus on lowering costs and getting our economy moving, making sure there is no tax hike next year. You know, if Congress takes no action, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act under President Trump, many of those provisions from 20.
You know, while we're watching them, let's just remember something. There's a huge, there's a couple markers that we're going to throw in the sand on these guys. Feel like deja vu. Here we go again. 2016 was the same thing. Every time some of this stuff comes up, we have these same conversations. And here we go again. The old big old fight that's looming on the horizon, and we all know what it is. Are the Republicans going to cave one more time and pass another bloated omnibus nonsense spending bill? Talk about raising the debt ceiling. They're more afraid of shutdowns. They're more afraid of how it's going to look if they don't. And let the Democrats, own the messaging as they always do. So will they prove once again they're more committed to protecting the swamp than actually making real change and fighting for the people who just overwhelmingly voted for something different? And here we go again. It's coming. It's on the horizon. Can they stand together? Can they decide what they actually stand for? Can they message it correctly with somebody? Let J.D. Vance go do it, for crying out loud. I mean, he does it better than anybody else, than any of you. He runs circles around all of you. Can anybody decide what they stand for, what they're actually going to get behind, actually go message it? Cut the spending spree, cut the spending, and not tie President Trump's hands behind his back for the first year. Are the Republicans up for this fight? No more damn excuses on this. We say that every time, and they always let us down. I don't know. We'll see. When I watch these guys talk, it doesn't give me a lot of hope that they have the you-know-whats to do it.
17 would expire, leading to a large tax hike on families. we are going to work to prevent that from happening. So ultimately, if you look at what we're focused on right now, is being ready day one, starting in January, when we get not only that mandate, but that opportunity to get this country back on track with unified government in Washington to start addressing the problems that were created by President Biden and Vice President Harris. We are ready for that moment. We're already making plans, working with President Trump to get our country moving again quickly so that families can finally get relief, the relief that they not only deserve, but the relief that they voted for just a few weeks ago. And so leading that charge while he's not hanging out with Kid Rock at UFC fights and Jelly Roll is our Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
Thanks a lot. Good morning to everybody. Glad to see such a full crowd. Every seat taken, almost standing room only in here. It is almost like a UFC fight in Madison Square Garden, almost as fun. All seriousness, we had a great weekend at Mar-a-Lago with President-elect Trump, talking about the legislative plan, talking about the agenda going forward, lots of substantive discussions. I met with President Trump and President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance and their senior policy leaders. And there's no daylight between their agenda and what they envision and what we envision for the House. And in order to accomplish all of that, the president needs an aggressive cabinet, and he has put forward some extraordinary nominees. I've met with many of them individually since those announcements have been made, and we're excited about the days ahead. House Republicans are committed to working with President Trump and his nominees and the administration as we prepare for what will be a breakneck 119th Congress. The agenda will be fast-paced. The first 100 days will be...
This guy makes me want to sleep.
We have a lot to fix. And as I've said many times, I believe President Trump could be the most consequential president of the modern era because we have to fix everything. And by extension, Congress can be as well. And the incoming administration is going to be filled with great men and women, and we trust and hope that Senate Republicans will, and the whole Senate, will perform their constitutional responsibility to advise and consent on President Trump's nominees and to do that in a speedy, expeditious manner. And as I said, we've been working with the Senate as well on this, this big plan we have to hit the ground running in January. We laid out this morning for the House Republicans.
I wonder why the Democrats look at what they're up against and just laugh.
And that is kind of the overarching points, the overarching pieces of the reconciliation package. And in quick summary, we want to grow our economy and defeat inflation. We want to restore the border. We want to restore America's energy dominance, provide educational freedom, and dismantle the deep state. There are lots of course, details on each of those categories, but we're working all that out together in a bicameral fashion with Senate Republicans, House Republicans working together.
Ooh, bicameral.
And of course, coordinating with the new
Big
Trump
words.
administration. In the meantime, we have some items we have to go through for the remainder of this year, as you all know. We have a disaster relief package that's been presented by the Biden administration, their request. And even before, I want to point out, even before Hurricanes Milton and Helene hit shore, House Republicans ensured that appropriate emergency funds would be provided to FEMA, as we did in that last funding package, as you know. And now that we're back in session, we're going to continue to provide for the American people with the resources that are desperately needed. So I saw firsthand, I went to the sites of the devastation. I went to Florida where Helene made landfall and looked at the devastation there, all the way inland, even to the agricultural areas. And then I spent a lot of time in western North Carolina, where it looks like a bomb went off in most of those areas there. So these communities can be rebuilt responsibly, and Congress has a role to play. We'll be looking at all that. On the floor this week, you heard a quick summary about some of these steps we're taking towards beginning to restore America's energy dominance. And tomorrow we'll pass the CLEAN Act to increase our domestic power production and strengthen America's energy security. We're going to pursue an all of the above energy policy, and geothermal is a big part of that. It's just beneath our feet, and in the Mountain West states, this is a big thing. We're not going to waste it like the Biden administration did. We're going to use all the precious resources that we've been blessed as a nation to have. We'll also vote on the Stop Terror Financing and Tax Penalties on American Hostages Act this week. Common sense legislation, as you heard. It prevents the IRS from charging late fees on Americans who are held hostage or wrongfully detained abroad. This is an obvious thing that everybody should be in support of. We're going to make sure that we follow common sense legislation and these principles along the way, and House Republicans will fix that error this week. and many, many errors in the days to come. So we're excited about that. I'll just say one quick note, and I'll take your questions. We just had a great gathering of all the House Republicans, as we do each week, and we had many of our member-elects, new members who will be coming in, Republican members in the 119th Congress. It's an extraordinary group. They've been on the Hill for the last week or so, having their orientation. I'm really proud of this group. They have an extraordinary set of skills and expertise they bring to the table and life experiences. Pound for pound, I think it's one of the strongest classes maybe that's ever come in for our party, and I'm really excited about what they'll contribute. And I told them and all of our members this morning, as we approach Thanksgiving, it's an appropriate time for all of us to be thankful, not just for the immediate blessings of our family and friends and the things that we enjoy, but for this great country. And the fact that I believe that we've been given the great blessing of an opportunity to save America. And that's what we intend to do. And we have a very deliberate agenda to pursue to make sure that happens. So we're looking forward to getting to work. Yes, sir.
Okay, well, we effectively got
I'm not
nothing
gonna
out of this,
get
so
into
who
this.
cares?
We welcome all new
This
members
guy's just
with open arms who
does not
who
install a
elected
lot of
representatives
confidence.
people.
I can tell you that for sure. It does not install a lot of confidence. All right, so Charlie Kirk just tweeted that Judge Juan Merchan adjourns New York City case against Trump without delivering sentence in hush money case. I don't exactly know what that means. Adjourns it like done forever? What do we think that means? This is what we'll see if we can find what's going on here. Let's go to Charlie. All right, this is what he says. Judge Juan Merchan adjourns New York City case against Trump without delivering sentence in hush money case. Even if Trump's convictions were to be upheld, the president-elect has myriad of ways to appeal the case or get the charges against him dismissed, making it all but certain he will face no time behind bars. And this links to an article in the Post Millennial. It's funny that no one else has has been adjourned by the court. The decision came on the day Trump was due to be sentenced. Is this from today? What is going on? November 19th, yeah. The decision came on the day Trump was due to be sentenced, which has been in limbo since Merchan initially determined to postpone it until after the results present. The sentencing was due to be delivered after Trump was convicted. According to Fox News, okay, let's go there. This is today, about an hour ago. Reports New York judge adjourns Trump hearing without explanation, delaying sentencing. I thought that's what he did the first time. So how is this different than what he did a month ago or whatever it was? Donald Trump's sentencing for 34 criminal charges in the state of New York was abruptly adjourned by the court Tuesday, today, according to Bloomberg News, a decision that gives the presiding judge additional time to weigh how to proceed the case. So what, I mean, so he did the same thing again? The adjournment itself is not a dismissal of the charges against Trump. Rather, it takes a previously scheduled November 26th sentencing date off the calendar as the court weighs how to proceed in considering the case against the president-elect. So this is no different than the last time. Am I missing something here? Published November 19th, 2024. That's today, 10:44 a.m. That's less than an hour ago. So how is this different than what he did a month ago? He did the same exact thing, no? Yes, same thing. I don't think there's any difference. I thought this judge did this last week. I mean, I think I said last time they did this that this would just they're going to just delay, and then all of a sudden it's like no one's going to talk about it again. But it's like They just keep it there in case something happens where they can, I don't know. It's just crazy. Judge Merchan, the presiding judge in the New York case, Judge Merchan, granted a request from the prosecutors earlier this month to stay all deadlines associated with the New York case, including a planned sentencing on November 26th. So he did that earlier in the month, puts it off to today, and then does exactly the same thing today, adjourns it, but doesn't dismiss it, so it just hangs out there in the ether now, I guess. The people agree that these are unprecedented circumstances. Prosecutor Matthew Colangelo said, oh, yes, the guy who was working at the Biden administration in the DOJ and just decided, you know what? Yeah, I don't know. The third most important job in the whole DOD. Nah, I think I'll go over and work in Alvin Bragg's office. That sounds a lot better. Okay, yeah, sure. Which he added would allow for prosecutors to better evaluate the impact of his election as president. Trump's attorneys who have pushed to vacate the charges against him completely also backed the stay. U.S. Supreme Court ruled, okay, yes. The High Court ruled. Trump, for his part, has repeatedly characterized the cases as politically motivated, witch hunt, a refrain frequently used by the president-elect. Even if Trump's convictions were to be upheld, the president-elect has myriad ways to appeal the case or to get the charges against him dismissed before the November 26th sentencing hearing, making it all but certain he'll face no time behind bars. Well, okay, that's not the point, though. End this charade is the point, once and for all. How about that? It's crazy. Crazy. If you didn't see Elizabeth Warren, this is what I was talking about before. Steve opened the show with it.
But can we make sure that we don't skip over a moment that comes before that moment? And that's the moment we have right now. I'm here in what's called a hideaway, a little office underneath the Capitol right now because Senate Democrats are holding the floor, trying to push through our judicial nominations. Remember, we still have 28 people who've been nominated to be federal judges who are somewhere in this
Republicans
process.
didn't show up.
And that can be 28 lifetime appointments that we get through. And look, I know everyone will remind me the United States Supreme Court has become an extremist court that doesn't abide by the rule of law, and that is true. But remember, the overwhelming number of decisions that get made by the courts get made at the district court level, and we can be filling more of those in. And of those that take an appeal, most of those get resolved at the circuit court level, and we just did one more of those today. So right now, we're in a battle with the Republicans. They're upstairs trying every dilatory tactic to try to delay and hope we'll all get tired and go home. And at this moment, the Republicans the Democrats are actually showing some mettle and standing up to the Republicans and saying, no, if you're going to raise all these procedural objections, we'll just stay here and we'll vote on them and we'll vote on them and we'll vote on them until we get our judges through. And the reason I want to focus on that, Rachel, this is our moment to do that. That window is closing, and we absolutely, positively need to get every one of those judges confirmed that we can do. And so that's why we are here today, and that's why I'm on a 12-minute clock for how long I can stay here and run back upstairs and vote.
I gotcha. Well, let me ask you about that. Do you think that Democrats are capable of getting through that whole pipeline of 28 nominees? Is it, when you say Democrats are sort of holding together and pushing through, do you feel like you're on track to get through the entire list of nominees that are possible?
Look, if we don't, it's on nobody but us. because right now we have the power. Now, look, we all have to rely on each other, and that has always been the challenge with this particular Congress. We got to have everybody here. Nobody gets to say, oh, but I had other plans, and oh, this other thing came up. We've all got to be here, and we've all got to be willing to get behind these judges and vote them on through. But if we do, we can beat back every one of the Republican objections, every one of their delaying tactics. And what I want them to hear right now on this Monday night, right now in November, we are willing to stay until we get our judges confirmed. Advise and consent. This is our job to confirm these judges, and that's what we're going to do.
With everything that you just said about what you need to do with judges, is there room to do some oversight over the Trump-announced nominees? Obviously, he won't be able to formally nominate anybody till he's president-elect. By that point, Democrats won't have the gavel. There's the possibility of no confirmation hearings at all if he gets this recess appointment scheme through the Congress.
So I think you're doing exactly the right thing, and that is pointing out who these people are and how much we need to be collecting the evidence about them and getting it out to the public.
Oh.
You can't have a formal hearing about a nominee who isn't a nominee yet, but there are certainly things we can start doing as a matter of oversight. And I think that's exactly what we...
Yeah, there you go.
This
collecting
is
dirt.
The primal scream
that's
of
their
a
goal.
dying regime. Pray.
So that's their goal. That's what they want to do. Let me oops, no, don't want to do that. Mike Davis was on this morning. A couple things we'll go over here.
Not the Senate runs by unanimous consent, largely agree to nothing. Do not give consent to anything. Do not voice vote anything. Do not UC anything. Grind the Senate to a halt. The American people put President Trump back in the White House in an overwhelming landslide victory, 312 electoral votes. The American people voted for a very strong Senate Republican majority, 53 votes. The American people want President Trump and Senate Republicans appointing constitutionalist judges. They do not want President Biden and Chuck Schumer and these radical Senate Democrats putting on these bottom-of-the-barrel losers who are getting through the Senate process now because Senate Republicans can't find the time to show up to work and vote. Show up to work. Grind the Senate to a halt. And people should go to Article3Project.org, Article3Project.org, and take action. And there is an action link there when you take action that says tell your senators essentially to show their asses up to vote. It's that simple. So light them up, call them, send them emails, light them up on social media. And we're going to start naming and shaming Republican senators at the Article 3 Project who do not show up and vote. So do your job interview for a job you're not going to get.
Yeah, you get the point. And the bigger point being that if the Republicans are going to act like they just act on this radical judge that just got through and not even show up to vote, Biden is on, one of the things we talked about Trump's first term was how he reshaped he reshaped these district courts. Well, unfortunately, Biden's on pace right now, and especially if you listen to what Elizabeth Warren just said, and the window is closing, she says. So now it's rammed through as many as possible. If Republicans are going to act like they just act on this one, and Elizabeth Warren gets her way, Biden will have reshaped the courts actually more than Trump did in his first term, starting in 2016. A little more from Mike.
Not the Senate runs by.
That's the same clip. Yeah, so Republicans got to get on the ball. A couple other things. This is on our X. A couple days ago from Molly Hemingway. House probe into Matt Gaetz relies on witnesses the DOJ found lacked credibility. Saw a headline today. The New York Times says a hacker has hacked their way. Amazing the timing of these things. Hacked their way into documents about Gaetz that I'm sure they'll be publishing soon enough. I asked this morning, and I'm interested in everyone's thoughts. When does Gaetz go in front of a camera or on some show and give a Kavanaugh-like defense of himself? Does he need to? Remember the confirmations of Judge Kavanaugh, how outwardly strong he was in defending himself. Does Matt Gaetz continue to just ride this in the background? Or does he take to a War Room or Hannity or someplace to draw a line in the sand on all of this? And does he need to do that? Maybe he doesn't need to do that in most people's estimation. But why not address at least some of the things that even Molly Hemingway points out? Mark Levin on recess appointments. It was funny. I posted Andy McCarthy's piece in National Review today, just because, again, I think it's worth reading the other side of these arguments and why they're the other side. And as soon as I got done reading Andy McCarthy's piece, I thought to myself, well, I really need to hear from the great one on where he stands on this. Because he has really been for me, he's always the go-to constitutional voice. But certainly when it came to things we've seen in the last year, trying to use the 14th Amendment to say President Trump can't be on the ballot. All of these constitutional questions, of course, Levin has always been kind of my go-to on a barometer on where you should at least start to think about it. You know, read as much as you can, come up with your own, but here's a starting point at least. That's, for me, he's always been kind of the start and end of all of it. So he says recess appointments, and he's talking directly, by the way, to Andy McCarthy here. I have no doubt about it. He read that article this morning in National Review. He says, funny how the chess beaters are condemning recess appointments, a practice which has been going on throughout our history for a wide variety of reasons, as something uniquely Trumpian and a grave threat to liberty and separation of powers. And that's before Trump has even been sworn in. Its liberal use by Bush 43 and Clinton largely escaped their attention, not to mention overly emotional outbursts. Of course, there's another constitutional issue the chess beaters utterly ignore. What if the Senate, say a combination of majority of Democrats and a small fraction of never-Trump Republicans, slow walk the president's nominees, thereby preventing him from assembling the team he wants to carry out the mandate the voters recently gave him? Is that what the framers intended? The framers not only feared a tyrannical president, but a tyrannical legislature. They didn't create a parliament, and the Senate itself, drastically changed by the 17th Amendment, is not populated as the framers originally intended. Since our republic's founding, every position from Supreme Court justices to much less significant presidential appointments has been made by recess appointments for various political and governing reasons and lengths of time. Donald Trump didn't invent this idea. And we needn't go back to the days of George Washington and the difficulty of travel then to determine its relevancy today. The last 25 years will do just fine. Obama, Bush, and Clinton made hundreds of recess appointments. Yes, the Supreme Court more recently placed some limits on the practice, but it did not torpedo the practice altogether, despite the chess beaters' propaganda. If the practice is to be eliminated in full, the court could have done so, but it didn't. As a matter of fact, I believe in the Supreme Court, the Channing case, I don't believe there was a single dissenter against the idea that the president has the power to do this. The only constitutional alternative is an amendment abolishing recess appointments, a difficult course indeed. There's no movement to do so. Even if possible, it would greatly increase the power of a majority of senators, 2/3 of whom did not stand for re-election, to broadly thwart a newly elected president's ability to make his most important and crucial appointments to cabinet posts, to oversee and manage a massive bureaucracy of 2.5 million bureaucrats, which in itself is a law-making leviathan, a fourth branch of government that thwarts representative government and separation of powers. That whole paragraph is so important. Especially the fact that you think about that. 2/3 of the people sitting there now who are going to grandstand didn't even come up for re-election just now. And you have this mandate given to the president, an overwhelming victory, and you have 2/3 of people who didn't stand in front of the American people who are going to sit there and get in the way now? And we're supposed to believe that that's what the framers would have thought was appropriate? The framers never dreamed an elected legislature would delegate its central constitutional power to an unelected executive branch monstrosity. Locke and Montesquieu, who had great influence on the framers' thinking, characterized such a delegation as both illegitimate and tyrannical. As an aside, my admiration for the late Antonin Scalia is second to none. As some have said, he rejected the broad use of recess appointments. Most of us do as a general matter and in the abstract, but he also supported the Chevron decision, which constitutionalized, if you will, the enormous and largely unchallengeable law making authority of the bureaucracy. It was a disastrous decision that Scalia later regretted, and the current court bravely corrected and effectively reversed. The elimination of recess appointments, even if it were possible, would create other issues involving balance of power and separation of powers, either ignored by or not contemplated by its most vocal promoters, who seem uniquely animated by their dislike for President Trump and his announced nominees than any constitutionally consistent principle. But if they had their way and the power was removed from the Constitution, I can foresee Senate Democrats, who are relentlessly conniving for ways to thwart the Constitution, blocking wholesale a Republican president's top political nominations in order to cripple his presidency, blunt his campaign promises, prevent his effective control over the bureaucracy, and more. Indeed, the long list of constitutional and traditional usurpations urged by the modern Democrat Party would shock the framers as they shocked the voters on November 5th, who soundly repudiated them. This topic is much more complicated than the chess beaters would have you believe. Much more later, and I'm assuming he means on his show tonight at 6 p.m. But there you go. Some extremely important points in what I believe is a direct conversation with Andy McCarthy's piece today in National Review. Tucker Carlson had Russ Vought, who ran OMB under Trump, and as he says, and I agree, hopefully we'll maybe run it again. This is a great interview, and they went over some really important things. You can see here in the titles of the bookmarks, what will congressional hearings look like for Trump's appointees? How the deep state tried to destroy Matt Gaetz. Elon and Vivek's plan with Doge. Our leaders care more about war than American citizens. So you get the idea of the ground they covered here in this. If you haven't seen this, this is on our, actually, I didn't. Okay, now it's on our X if you want to watch that. Jonathan Turley, Bloomberg is reporting that the court has again postponed any decision in the Trump case in Manhattan. This is now the longest performance of Hamlet in history, as Judge Merchan continues to debate whether to be or not to be a sentencing judge in the Trump case. To be or not to be, that is the question, whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer. Okay, yes, we get the reference. Okay, now it's good to know that I'm sitting here thinking, what am I missing? Well, I'm not missing anything. It's exactly what he did weeks ago. Many FBI agents are saying if Kash Patel becomes FBI director, it would cause massive damage to the agency. Yes, hello, that's the point. Massive changes, damage, however you want to qualify it. That's what the agency needs. That's how you know that these are the right appointments. When you say, oh, many people say they're going to leave. Okay, and? Many people say they're going to retire. And? Many people are saying, yeah. That's the point.
And by the way, this idea that Trump won with some kind of mandate is not true. I mean, we have information there. He beat Kamala.
Yes, no, it's not true, you know. It's not true. I was shaving my back this morning, and I realized it's not true. We only lost the popular vote, the Electoral College. You know, most Republicans don't. When's the last time a Republican won the popular vote? They always claim we have to get rid of that damn Electoral College because it really should be just California and New York that chooses who the president is. That's what we want. But now, no, it's no mandate. They just won everything in sight. We got our asses kicked. But no, it's not a mandate, you know. Joy Behar. Good God. A list of the rhinos that are up in 2026. Well, you know, it's all well and good, but the problem is the damn Republican Party has got to care to get involved in the primaries. That's the problem. Maybe now we're at a point where maybe they actually will start to realize how important it is to get involved in the primaries and to get the actual candidates that are truly conservative in there. We get rid of Mitch McConnell and hope that well, I don't know. I don't trust Thune any more than I trust McConnell, so I can't imagine it will be any better, but Monica Crowley says illegal lawfare on life support. I mean, I guess you could look at it that way. Seems outrageous to me that he can just continue to just say, well, I don't know. Let's reconvene somewhere down the line and we'll talk about it. Maybe like in 4 years and one day. I mean, it's just crazy. This is getting some attention, but it really is kind of crazy that this judge, Embry Kidd, is now a United States Circuit Judge for the 11th Circuit. And the guy wrote at one point in his career that child rapist laws are racist. J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, and a couple others didn't show up to vote. He got 49-45 was the confirmation vote, and there was at least Manchin voted no. Braun, Daines, Fetterman, Haggerty, Rubio, and Vance didn't even show up to vote. So Braun, Daines, Haggerty, Rubio, Vance, 1, 2, 3. That's 5 votes. That's enough right there to kill the confirmation. And here we are talking about confirmations and recess appointments, and we can't even show up to vote against radical judges. Makes me laugh when I hear Elizabeth Warren saying, well, if you're going to play hardball, we're going to just... Republicans don't play hardball ever. When's the last time Republicans ever got together and used every tool at their disposal when it comes to Democrats in power trying to get stuff done? Never. It's only when the Republicans are in charge trying to get things done that there's a million procedural stall tactics. The Democrats are always the one using that. Republicans never use them. They don't even show up to vote when they don't even need stalling tactics. Crazy. Oh, this is the story.
Here live now from Fox. We do have some breaking news that we want to bring to you here. New York Times reporting that a hacker is said that they have identified and claimed some files, gaining access with testimony, damaging testimony against Matt Gaetz. We want to just play out just a little bit of some file video here of Matt Gaetz. But according to the New York Times, an unidentified hacker gained access.
Yeah, unidentified. Yeah, hacker. The only words they left out was hired by us. The New York Times says a hacker, comma, hired by us, comma, has gained access. That's the only thing that's missing in this whole thing.
To a file shared in a secure link among lawyers with clients who have given damaging testimony related to Matt Gaetz, President-elect Donald J. Trump.
They think we're so stupid that we're to believe all this time this Gaetz thing's been hanging over his head. All this time. No hackers for all these years, months that this has been out there. Never gained access. The week after he goes up for this position, the New York Times wants us to believe that some hacker has finally decided, oh, look at this.
Trump's choice to be Attorney General, a person with knowledge of the activity has said. The file is said to include sworn testimony by a woman who said that she had sex with Mr. Gaetz back in 2017 when she was 17 years old, in addition to testimony by a second woman who said that she had witnessed the encounter. The material does not appear to have been made public by the hacker. The revelation came as Donald Trump was rolling out initial details of his domestic policy agenda, and as he continues to consider candidates for several high-level positions critical to enacting his agenda there. So we'll keep an eye on this one again.
Wow, shocking. I bring you back to Molly Hemingway. If you haven't read this, read it. And make your own decision on what you think. Oh, by the way, on our X last night, I posted, I think pretty late, but, and some of you referenced it during the show. Jeff Clark did a good breakdown of the recess appointments.
Walk us through, and if Denver can put
listen to a little bit of this,
his report, at least the 8-pager, and we have, I guess, a 37. Walk us through this 8-pager, because the president, there's two things out there now. President Trump's talked about this act of 1998 that he's prepared to use, and you're offering him another alternative in case we can't go through the normal process of advice and consent in the Senate to get his nominees across the finish line?
Let me start, if I could, Steve, by talking about English law. So the English king had two sets of powers. Eventually, the parliament made inroads against the first one especially. But the king could have the power to dissolve the parliament or to suspend it, or what was called prorogue it. And the framers, in their wisdom, completely appropriate, since they wanted to have three standing branches of government that were co-equal, they denied to the president the analog of the power to dissolve Congress. It's a body that continues in existence from election to election. The president doesn't have the power to do that. But they decided that some form of the power to prorogue essentially would be conferred on the president, but they put another check and balance on it, Steve. They put on it the idea that the president can order the two houses of Congress into a recess if the two houses disagree with each other as to whether to go into that recess. And so if that disagreement between the houses exists, the president can send them into recess for as long as he sees fit. And there are arguments floating around from the Wall Street Journal, from Ed Whalen for the National Review, from Andy McCarthy.
Hang on for a second. Hang on a second. The Republic's been around. The Constitution is, 235 years old. We're coming up next April, folks, the 250th anniversary, so that's a quarter of a millennium,
right, of
the shot heard around the world, Lexington and Concord, next 19 April 2025. Has this ever been even talked? Has it ever been tried anywhere in any presidency? And has it even been discussed, what you're talking about? Well, this is where one house would say, I want to go in recess, the other house wouldn't, and the president can use that one house saying they want to go into recess. So this kind of is a reveal about why Mike Johnson, who's nothing to do with confirmations, said out of the blue, oh, well, I support the recess nominations process. So Johnson could put the House into recess, and Trump could use that House recess to force the Senate, if Mitch McConnell and John Thune didn't want to do it, to force the House into a recess and then put his nominees through?
Short answer is yes, and what the president's given in the Constitution is a tie-breaking power. If the two houses disagree with each other, the president can send them both into recess.
Where is that in the Constitution?
That is in the article about adjournments. And it goes to, normally, right, the houses decide for themselves when they're in session.
Well, the Senate has not been was never out of session the entire first Trump presidency. Right. Mitch McConnell did not trust. The only reason he did that was because he did not trust Trump to slide in a couple of nominations, correct?
They created this pro forma process where they basically gavel themselves in. And they were supposedly in session, but they really weren't in session. But the Supreme Court upheld that in this case called Noel Canning versus the NLRB. And so, now it's well established that the Senate can use these pro forma adjournments, and they're not, pro forma coming into session when they're actually not there doing business. The Obama administration tried to say that during those, sessions where they're really not available, they're actually in recess, and therefore President Obama had the recess appointment power. But the Supreme Court disagreed. They said that as we read the Constitution and its history, a recess of 3 days or less is clearly insufficient to trigger the recess appointment power. For recesses 10 days and longer, they said that is long enough, then the power definitely exists in the president. And then they said that recesses essentially between the 3 days and the 10 days presumptively are not long enough in order for the president to use the power. So if the president wants to use the power and not have it be questioned, a recess has to last 10 days or longer.
And what required? And that could the House say, I want a 10-day recess, and
so
then,
the House
and the president can force the Senate into a 10-day recess, and then he can put certain of his nominees through.
Yes. And so here are the response arguments.
Whalen, is it Whelan or Whalen?
Whalen, Ed Whalen.
Ed Whalen at National Review, put it up on National Review online.
Yes.
Ed Whalen disagreed with you?
Yes.
And who is Ed Whalen?
Ed Whalen was at the Office of Legal Counsel at the Justice Department.
So Office of Legal Counsel is the internal law firm for the Justice Department. It kind of writes the opinion letters. When you give them an executive order, they write essentially opinion letter and helps with make sure it's constitutional, correct?
Yes.
They're very serious people.
Yes, and indeed other...
And Ed Whalen is a very serious individual?
He is, yes.
You know him?
I do, yeah. I've worked with him, and, I think he's a good guy. I sort of tweeted about him today. Look, our kids had even played together at one point when we were both younger men.
Had a play date at one
we
time?
went, mutual friend. All of our kids were playing out in the house in Arlington. And he's a very smart guy. Like, I appreciate him. But
Did he take you to task on this? Or was it around the edges?
I think maybe he thinks he did, but I didn't think it was a very effective response. So one of his responses, which he had launched before me, and then he kind of used it and put it in motion against me as well, is this idea that there would not be a disagreement between the houses about recess, but rather the Senate would simply decide to stay in session. So this seems to me to be quite a semantic argument, Steve. So let me indulge your viewers and you to use what one of my law professors used to call a homely analogy, by which he would mean he would try to take some complicated legal subject and turn it into something everyone could understand. So I'm going to blast back. I'm 12 years old. I'm over a friend's house and we're shooting baskets, against the backboard on his driveway. And I say, hey, this has been fun, but why don't you come over to my house and we'll play air hockey? And, he says, no, I want to keep playing basketball and shoot the hoops, right? Well, what Ed is saying is that, there's essentially an disagreement about whether to keep shooting hoops. There's not a disagreement about whether to go over to my house and play air hockey, right? But in reality, they're just the flip side of each other, right? A recess and a continuance of the Senate in session are just, binaries, like two different sides of the same coin. So to say that it's a dispute about staying in session versus in recess, it's inherently a dispute about whether to take a recess. Therefore, if the two houses disagree, whatever the Senate tries to say, like, well, we're not disagreeing with you about a recess, we just want to stay in session, I don't think that's going to be good enough to stop the president from using this power if he wants to.
Your scheme or your proposal here to the president, would you use it after he tried? What was the act in 1998 that today he actually said, I believe he said on Truth Social or said, if John Thune does not move my nominees through quickly on an orderly process, I will use this, the Avoidance Act of 1998?
So that statute's called the Federal Vacancies Reform Act, Steve, the FVRA. And it arose out of disputes with a Clinton official, Lonnie Chen, who seemed to serve at the Civil Rights Division forever without Senate confirmation, and so they put this act in place. But before I kind of unpack that act a little bit, let me say, look, whenever you're dealing with relationships between the political branches, you're dealing with a situation in which deals can be made, right, in which arrangements can be struck. Maybe the president talks to the Senate and he lead senators, and there are a few people that he wants to try to get recess appointed, maybe, and there are others that he makes an agreement, they'll go through the full process or whatever. These kinds of things may be taking place behind the scenes, and I think the framers anticipated that before you go to the cudgels about something that might actually show up in the courts, you exercise those softer, persuasive, tools that you have. All right, so now about the Federal Vacancies Reform Act. So,
hang on, because we're going to go to break. You can stick around, right?
Sure.
What the left is saying on TV and the Democrats are that these appointments are in your face to actually take the government and start to tear it apart. And they, defenders of the established order, are going to use the powers in the Constitution of the Senate basically being the Human Resources Department, and that the FVRA option that President Trump, I think, tweeted out earlier, and that Jeff Clark's idea are kind of these radical tools that one reaches for when one can't get a cabinet nominee through a standard process. Your response, sir?
quick response is this case that I discussed with you, Noel Canning, which is the leading precedent on the recess appointments clause. It's one where Obama was using it. He tried to put people on the National Labor Relations Board during, one of these short kinds of non-recesses because they didn't go for long enough. I didn't hear anything from the Nicole Wallaces of the world or the New York Times about like how terrible it was that Obama was trying to put recess appointees in. It's only when they think their ox is being gored that they magically turn around. Indeed, I retweeted it today. There was somebody put clips of Lawrence O'Donnell, and I think it was Nicole Wallace, but might have her wrong, but at least Lawrence O'Donnell put out clips saying, there's a constitutional power called the Recess Appointments Clause, and the president clearly has this power, right? So, it's time for those clips to get jammed back in their face, right? If Obama's exercising the power, they're totally good with it, but if Donald John Trump wants to, they say no.
Sorry about that. Yeah, it's a great clip and a great summation of what we've talked about for the last 2 weeks here on this show and in the night show, more here in the morning than at night. But that's exactly, he references all the important stuff. And I've linked on our X, I think last week when we talked about this, that Heritage Foundation article that breaks down recess appointments and a lot of what Jeff just laid out there with Steve. So, all right, folks, there you go. I've been watching the chat. I know the numbers. Penny on Facebook, I was saying the numbers are just 117,000 followers on Facebook. We're live on there for the last hour and 17 minutes, and there's 41 people who have been, I guess, being able to find it. So there's nothing we can do about it. It's just they're going to suppress what they want to suppress. There's nothing I can do. I don't have any magic potion to get it out there. We go live and people find it, and ordinary people don't find it. There's nothing else I can do about it. Some mornings people will find it. Some mornings people won't. We've tried a couple different times to see if there's a better reaction at certain times. There's no magic bullet, and quite frankly, I just don't care enough to really worry too much about it. We're building the community as much as we can on that's why I always say follow us on all platforms. The numbers on X are always good and growing, by the way. So if you want to know what I would do, I would just follow us on X. I don't want to make the streams exclusively on X because we're trying to build the YouTube almost at 16,000 on YouTube. I want to get that number up. I know people get sick of the ads on YouTube, but actually the ads on YouTube actually are really it really helps the show continue to exist. So decide which one you hate more, the ads or would it be life without us? Because we need all the help we can get. So the ads on YouTube always help. Not that it's a ton, but it's something. So we need to try to build up all the platforms. And, of course, the best thing you can do is join us at livefromstudio6b.com, where I think tonight for the first night, when we go live on the night show, that will be live on the website with the chat. So if you want one central location that you can always go, live from Studio 6B tonight, I believe we will be live on the homepage, as there's now a new window that as soon as we go live, we will go live there. Yes, and it looks like that. So you can always go to livefromstudio6b.com. And you can log in here. If you haven't created an account, it's that easy to sign up. You can do it with Google, you can do it with Facebook, or you can do it with an email. It takes about 30 seconds to do it. And then you'll have an account over what happened to the site? Over here. And now you'll be able to watch us right here on the homepage at 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock every night. I think the chat will be here as well. So you talk about an easy central location that you don't ever have to worry about getting suppressed. We control from beginning to end. We control obviously from the end to the beginning, delivering the stream here on the site. And of course, you obviously have other stuff here. You have all of our merch, everything, all the free stuff that you can get if you use our code at MyPillow. You've got everything to go back and watch if you missed it. All the shows, all the morning shows, all of our clips that Aaron does a great job of cutting up. Our health and wellness with Freedom Force Nutrition is going extremely well. If you're looking for health and wellness supplements, vitamins over the holiday season, shop right now, 15% off. Everything Freedom Force Nutrition on the site. Obviously, you've got all the merch. You've got news that updates automatically every day. Trump to pick transition team co-chair Howard Lutnick for Commerce Secretary. Wow, okay, there you go, Commerce Secretary. Looks like Trump has made a decision on Howard Lutnick from Cantor Fitzgerald. I thought that would be Linda McMahon. That's good. I wondered maybe he has something else in place for McMahon. I thought maybe Commerce was a place she could end up. Looks like Howard Lutnick's going to get the nod at Commerce. Also, let me point out, I just think I tweeted it yesterday, brand new podcast. Podcast is now available at the bottom of the homepage. So we're excited about the new podcast. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, you can subscribe now. Again, right on the website. You can subscribe right here. Real simple to do. So there's always access to us. The audio, the video, the shows, the live, the merch, all right here live from Studio 6B. So if you're sick of trying to find us on social media, you can always, or having technical problems on social media, you can always just go to livefromstudio6b.com. I would encourage you to sign up there. Like I said, it takes about 30 seconds. It's absolutely free. You can do it with any Google account, any Facebook account. You can sign right up. It's so fast. And then you're there. So, all right, everybody. Good stuff. We will see you tonight at 8 p.m. I don't know if anyone's joining us tonight. I don't know if Vinnie Mac or KDJ is on tonight. I'll have to check, but we will certainly see you at 8 o'clock. I'm sure there'll be more to talk about. What time did Damon come on this morning? Kentucky Hill Jill, I came on 1 hour, 23 minutes ago. One hour and 23 minutes ago. Thank you for having coffee with us. Crazy Town Coffee. It is. And it's damn good. I can. Let's do it. Let's do it. Drag. Let's do it. See you, Damon. And usually love your show? I'm focused on the word usually there. What do we think? Usually love your show. What would be the qualifier there? Usually. Ouch. I usually love your show, Damon, except for when you're on. Clint, what's up, bud? What's going on? Good to always see you. Hope things are well with you. Clint and I grew up about 500 feet from each other. And we both went to the same high school and suffered with now Senator Chris Murphy. Were you guys, Clint, were you guys in the same class, you and Murphy? I don't know if he was with my sister or he was, I don't remember. I know he was young. I think he's younger than me. You remember him at all? Howard Lutnick is I believe the CEO, or he's the president and founder. I think he's the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. Obviously, we all, I guess, associate Cantor Fitzgerald with 9/11. Oh, he was a year after you. Okay, yeah, yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I don't even need to ask. I don't need to ask how that went. My money was on you. Oh God. Okay, Damon. Maybe wrong word usually. I agree with you 99.5% of the time. Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I don't know. I don't know if anybody could agree with somebody that much, but if you do, I'm happy. Let's get that to 100. Just having fun, Penny. I know what you meant. Do. Anything else in the chat? So we'll put you down for mostly enjoying the show. Exactly. Come on, Drag. You're way more than just 0.5. Admit it. You're like 50-50 at best, I think. I would say the majority of the audience, if they had to put a number on that, I don't know. I think the audience agrees with me maybe a little more than half the time. And then they agree the other part of the time with all the nut jobs on the show. That would be Delgado. That would have been Paul. That would be KDJ. The nutty corner, as we'll call them. Which I really, see, here we go already. I'm getting a Delgado with exclamation points. Don't encourage him. Don't encourage him. You just love that I shut down. I don't shut down. I just have fun with it. People take it so seriously, though. It just shocks me how many people think the banter between me and Delgado is ever serious. The emails I get, it's crazy to me. I say this all the time that people still, I don't know. I can't get Delgado on here. He's always busy in the mornings. Yeah, exactly. Come on, man. Just having some fun. I like to keep those consistent themes so that you know when he goes there what I'm going to do. No, that's not true. That's not true at all. He plays his part very well as well. We always laugh about it in the commercials. We look and I say, "Do you believe these comments? They think," and he just laughs. That's what you miss. While you are all taking it, while you're all getting all fired up, he's laughing. And he mostly laughs because I'm the one who takes most of the incoming on it. Wow, Vicky, holy cow, really? Is that the first time that he's heard from them? Always just having fun. Never serious, no matter what it looks like. It's like the old Imus show. It's all you got to remember. All of you who watched Imus, you watch Imus and Charles, or Imus and Bernard, and Imus and Lou, or with Bartlett, Kenny, all the personalities. Just having fun. Trying to yuck it up. Come on, yuck it up. Yeah, I mean, there's really split opinions. People are pointing to this New York Times thing, supposedly that Trump acknowledged, well, it may be tougher to get Gates through than oh, yes. Well, they are out of this world. Yes, the light, that little light. Look here. Oh, they came right after to make a deal to work with them, and he said no 4 years ago. Wow. Well, I think 63 days from now, all of that's going to be over. And I think those who did not partake in any true violence that day are all going to, this nightmare will come to an end. And I think the president will do a very good job of going through the unjust ones as opposed to possibly ones that really did, who really were violent. And maybe he needs to take a tougher look at. But certainly there's plenty there, you would think, that are nonviolent, people who didn't even go in, people who were barely even in the area. I would think that this charade's going to come to an end in about 62 days and 61 days and 23 hours and whatever, 12:27 right now. So all right. Anything else on the Q&A side here in the chat? What we should do, maybe what we'll start doing is we'll put, I know if you want to do video or audio, you'll have your choice. Maybe we'll do, I'll open up the Q&A part to the people who want to actually come on and either talk or be on video, and we'll do that at the end of each show. So we'll open it up so you can get into the queue, and then we'll do Q&A at the end of each show, and we'll do it with the video element or the audio element like we've been doing. Maybe we'll do that on every show instead of just picking one day a week that we do it the whole show. Maybe we'll do Q&A at the end of every show. And you can jump on and wait your turn, and then I'll get through as many of you as possible. Maybe we'll do that. Yeah, well, when I post a link to join the show, it goes on it should go on all the social media. I posted on X. All the platforms. I post it through all the platforms. All you got to do is click on the link. Your phone will do the rest. It's very simple. Very, very simple to join. You can join by audio only, so it's like me taking a phone call, or you can join me on video like some have done. By the way, those of you, I don't encourage this because I much prefer you. I much prefer you buy something from Mike Lindell or something. But people who write me and say you don't have any way for us to help you, we do have under the contact us over here on the right. We do have a support our cause where you can leave a one-time donation. I don't encourage people to do this because I don't want you just to do that. I much prefer you buy a shirt from Mike Lindell so you're getting something. But I get these emails that say, you don't have any way. You don't have any way. I heard you say it. I can't find it. I can't find it. It's under the contact button, and it's pretty easy to find. But again, I encourage you not to do that because I would much rather you get something if you're going to support the show. So that's why I like you going to Mike Lindell and using the code or buying something off the site. At least I know you're getting something for the value that you spend. Yes, or you can do what Yabu does and just donate in kind by providing Slick Rick, which I think we played last night. Aaron played. Aaron didn't have to deal with Harry on the Highway last night, so she was flipping in some good songs there. We haven't ended the show with Slick Rick in a long time. Yes, we did, exactly. Friends on vacation, so we had Brianna in, who's a friend of Aaron. She does a great job too, by the way. But I think Harry on the Highway is on the turntables tonight, so look out. God knows what's going to get played tonight. Aaron sits there and tries to keep Harry focused. That's a TV show in itself. If we just put a camera in the control room and just had a show of Harry and Aaron trying to keep Harry on task while Harry's on his phone, looking at TikTok, posting on Facebook, talking to people. Meanwhile, I'm cueing him to play music and he's doing who knows what. That is a show within itself. Aaron trying to keep Harry in line. Yeah, Boo is still upset that you used the AI song for the morning show. Well, first of all, I don't think I have used it in a couple days, and I like the song. And has it been proven that it's AI? No. That's my contention. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Is that it was well produced in the studio. So we played Slick Rick last night. Come on, man. I've gone to some of those AI music programs. If that song is AI, and I don't doubt that there's a chance it is, if we're being serious about it, but I've gone to the AI program, and I don't know which one you guys have tried, if you guys have out there. I don't know which one he found to nail it like that. Because I've actually taken the lyrics in that song and plugged them into certain AI music programs and see if it would spit out something similar. The stuff that's been spit out is not even worth not even worth being free on AI because it's so horrible. So I don't know. He had magic in a bottle if that was AI. And he didn't fine tune it to some degree because the ones I've tried, and I've taken those lyrics that are in the song and thought, okay, let's put all these lyrics in and see if it spits out the same thing for me. I haven't even found anything that actually sounds like music. You picked, and some of them will say, okay, what do you want it to sound like? You know, country, rock, whatever. It's not even close to country sounding. And that's the one I selected. So again, I don't know where. I've used Sumo AI to play around with making songs. What came out, play it. I know I didn't even save it. I just went on these things and it was like, I put the lyrics in because it had a box for like, you know, the song or like an idea. And then I selected the genre, which was country and whatever else it allowed me. I tried to pick closest to what that guy sent. And what it spit out was like, I felt like I should be in a dark room doing mainlining mushrooms into my veins with my Grateful Dead shirt on while laying on the ground making snow angels staring at the ceiling. It was brutal. I know, I get that. It's the luck of the draw, but I mean, that song that guy sent us that I've been playing and using because I really do enjoy it. It is so different as far as even like just basic concepts of music. Verse, chorus, bridge. I got nothing even close to anything that would resemble a song in the ones I've tried. So again, I don't know how he either hit magic in a bottle or I don't know what. All right, everybody. Sounds good. Thanks for the chat. Enjoy the rest of your day. 12:36. We'll see you in short couple of hours, 8 p.m. live from Studio 6B tonight. Have a great rest of your day. And we'll see what happens the rest of the day. If we get any more appointments, still waiting on the FBI. It's a big one. We'll see if we get it today or if they're going to continue to hold that one close to the vest while they try to figure out a plan, I would think, to how they're going to get these through. So thanks, everybody, for joining me. Always appreciate it. Again, sign up at livefromstudio6b.com where we will be live tonight. Hopefully it works. And, of course, we'll see you on all social media as well. So thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you at 8 o'clock.